and part of the ventricular septum. Septum primum grows downward between the right and left atrium and eventually fuses with the endocardial tissues. The septum secundum grows parallel to the septum primum. Both septum primum and septum secundum develop with holes in them to create a passageway for blood to flow from right atrium to left atrium through the foraminal valley. As long as the pressures on the right atrium are higher than pressures in the left atrium, the passage will stay open to allow the blood to flow from right to left. Errors may occur during atrial septation. A secundum atrial septal defect is an opening in the middle of the atrial septum, produced when the tissue of septum primum does not reach septum secundum adequately to completely close the wall, or when a tiny hole is left in the septum primum as the tissues grow. A primum atrial septal defect is an opening in the lower part of the atrial septum, near the tricuspid and mitral valves. It results from problems in the growth of the endocardial cushion tissues. A defect here is often associated with a defect in the mitral valve, as well as tricuspid valve. The most severe form of this is an atrioventricular canal defect. The aorta and pulmonary artery develop from a single tubular structure, the truncus arteriosus. Two areas of thickened tissue project into the lumen of this tube on the right and left side. As they continue to grow in size, these ridges meet and fuse to form a septum which takes a spiral course toward the end of this tube. This septum divides the truncus into two vessels, the aorta and the pulmonary artery. The conal tissue involved in the septation of the truncus arteriosus also directs placement of the aorta and pulmonary artery over their related ventricles. By the 5th week of fetal life, the atria completely separate into the right atrium and left atrium. Also at this time, the ventricular septum continue to grow in size. The muscular portion of the ventricular septum develops from the apex of the common ventricle. The membranous septum develops from the endocardial cushion tissues. Conal tissue contributes to the complete closure of the septum between the aortic and pulmonary valves. By the 6th and 7th week of fetal life, the ventricular septum completely separate into the right ventricle and left ventricle. Errors may occur during ventricular septation. Muscular defects can occur in any portion of the muscular septum. Small defects often close on their own as the tissues develop. Membranous defects are located behind the septal leaflet of the tricuspid valve. Subpulmonary defects are caused by deficiency of the conal septum. Atrioventricular canal type defects are caused by defects in the endocardial cushion tissues of the intraventricular septum.
Arch formation.